what boxers was Kidel wearing last year? Thursdays of Christmas, every Thursday at 9 p.m. on Choice TV.
Anyways, what are they? Vanilla? Thursdays of Christmas, right here on Choice TV.
That's right, every Thursday at 9 p.m. But I don't understand.
Right here, right?
It's important. It wasn't the coconut one, just saying. This time check is brought to you by Massey Stores Home, your way to a beautiful home in the Gablewood Shopping Mall.
Good night, Saint Lucia, and welcome to another episode of Police Insight. I'm your host, Acting Inspector Zachary Hippolyte of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force. Producer Collins, I'm hearing a little feedback in my, yes, thank you so much, in my earpiece. So good night, everyone. Sorry for being a little late. Sometimes these things happen. The news went a little bit above 9 p.m. Good night to our Police Commissioner, Mr. Milton Daisy, our deputies. Good night to you, Assistant Commissioners of Police, all gazetted police officers. Good night to you all, inspectors, sergeants, corporals, constables, both junior and senior. Good night to you, special police constables, special reserve police officers, city police. How are you doing? Good night to you, ex-police officers. Thank you for the service you have given to your country. Brothers and sisters in law enforcement, Bodley Correctional Facility, Saint Lucia Fire Service, Customs, Port Police, I'd like to say good night to you all. Security officers around the island, I'd like to say good night to you. So I have a very important guest tonight. Yes, very important guest. Esteemed guest with me tonight, and there's so much we have to speak about. But just before we do that, if you sound like I'm rushing, it's just that we have so much to talk about. I just need to get through a couple of things so I could bring her on. Currently, I'd like to say good evening to the Lion District Governor. The Lion District Governor, Claudio Bancapa, is currently in Saint Lucia, and he is visiting the Lions clubs in Saint Lucia. There's a procedure where the district governor visits off and on, especially in terms of auditing and visiting the different clubs. I know currently, I believe the meeting is going on as we speak. So, Lion District Governor Claudio Bancapa, I hope you have been having a good time in Saint Lucia, and the experience you have thus far will definitely go a long way in creating the synergy between the clubs. So thank you for your visit, sir, and have a good night. We have a couple press releases from the Press Relations Department of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force, but I'm not going to read all of them in the interest of time, but at least probably every now and then I'll take in one. So one of them, let's see, the Criminal Investigations Department of the Grosday Police Station has charged 30-year-old Yannick Kevin Jean of Crownlands Bexon and 25-year-old Yannick Louis of Leziland Castries for the offenses of possession of firearm and possession of ammunition, respectively, under Section 22, subsection 3 of the Firearms Act of St. Lucia. On Saturday, November 27, 2021, officers attached to the Grosday Police Station CID Special Services Unit North and the K9 Unit executed a search warrant on the premises of Yannick Kovinger and discovered a 9mm Beretta and 13 rounds of 9mm ammunition. The police is working despite whatever the challenges may be, resources, etc. We continue to do what we can. A little message going out to corporate Saint Lucia and those of you who are able. The Community Relations Branch of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force would like to remind persons that we are nearing our end of year activity, which is a hamper giveaway, not a hamper giveaway, but a hamper to give Christmas cheer to those who are less fortunate, students and sick and shut-ins in various communities. So first of all, I'd like to thank the sponsors who thus far have reached out with cash and kind, etc. But we still would like to, encourage other individuals and businesses and entities who are able to assist in putting those excellent hampers together for Christmas to reach out to the Community Relations Branch, 456-3714, 456-3714, or 456-3713. Or you could always check yours truly. I'm on Facebook, okay? All right, so without further ado, as we've gotten some of these out of the way, I would like to introduce my guest for this evening, and it's none other than the Honorable Dr. Virginia Albert Poyotte, the Minister for Public Service, Home Affairs, Labor, and Gender Affairs. Madam Minister, good night to you.
Good night, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, most definitely. I'm happy
this
that
is my first time on your show.
Yeah, of course it is, but not the last.
Well, we have many to go.
Especially with a portfolio. Yes. So those of you, especially out there in on the Facebook streaming platform, this is where you tell a friend to tell a friend that Police Insight is on. So, Madam Minister, first of all, your portfolio deals with being in charge of the administration of the police, or police administration, am I correct? Mm-hmm. Would you mind explaining that role for us?
Well, first of all, let me give an overview of my portfolio.
Excellent.
I am Minister of the Public Service, Home Affairs, Labor, and Gender Affairs. Mm-hmm. And the public service, as you know, that is the gateway for entry or exit into the public service.
Very important.
All persons who are working for government or who want to work for government, it must be done through the public service. You have a public service commission that appoints, promotes, demotes, transfer, as well as the teaching service commission that would appoint and do the similar thing. And the chairman of the public service commission is also the chairman of the teaching service commission. And then they deal with training, HR, and now we are doing DigiGov, where we are trying to modernize all government services using technology. And a lot of areas dealing with, in fact, all the ministries, when they have to appoint their staff or promote them, it has to go through the public service. Then we have Home Affairs. And Home Affairs, the way it was constituted before, there's a slight change.
I see.
They had security, they had justice, as well as the Home Affairs component had the police, fire, borderly correctional facility, probation and parole, and immigration. And the Prime Minister has had a component which we have to develop a new unit called Youth at Risk.
Interesting.
Right, so we are developing that unit now. So that would cover Home Affairs. But on the police, as you asked, the Prime Minister has taken on deployment of police as well as the security component.
Oh, I see.
So when people hear about crime and whatever, they say, oh, they're not hearing anything from me, I'm not saying anything, the number of murders and
you're
so on.
not saying a word, yes.
I'm not saying a word because that falls directly under the Prime Minister. But I'm handling the administration component.
Okay.
And with administration, I'm still responsible for ensuring that the police have everything they need to carry out their work. Because they could say they don't have transport,
That's right.
They don't have ammunition, their uniforms are not good, their working time not good, their facility not good, the police station leaking, they have problems. So all these things I have to attend to.
I see.
So that's the administration. I have to make sure that the police, when you say police welfare, in fact, the police welfare is well taken care of. For you to get police to do a good job, you have to ensure that the conditions of service are the best, as well as they are well remunerated, and they are, you show them that you care about them.
Yeah, well remunerated.
Right. Yeah, because we know, I mean,
Yeah.
we cannot always afford to pay the police for the work that they do because it's a high-risk job and they have to sacrifice their own lives and their family for them to protect the nation and the citizens. And I believe a lot of people do not understand the nature of the work of the police. And rather than supporting the police, they tend to go against the police.
Yeah.
But when they find themselves in trouble, they still call that same police.
Same police.
So I think we have to get it right. And then we have labor. And labor, I deal with all the trade unions. And police welfare. I have to talk about negotiations and their conditions of service and salaries for police officers. And all the other public sector unions and some of the workers from the National Workers Union. And we also deal with, well, when I spoke of immigration, I was talking about, when I did, we talk about citizenship and residency, permanent residency that I handle. But under labor, I deal with work permit. We deal with the employers, grievances and mediation. There is a labor tribunal that deals with disputes. In fact, under the Home Affairs, we have the Police Complaints Commission.
Yes.
That we had to appoint, so that when there are complaints against the police,
That's right.
we ensure that it's almost like a little court.
Yeah, it's like
so
a
you
little
have
court.
to deal with that.
And some people don't know that
Right.
the commission is headed by civilians.
Right.
Yes, not the police officer.
Right.
Yes.
And then we have the gender affairs, which is one of the main issues we'll be discussing tonight. And the gender affairs actually look at men and women and how we can create equality between the two genders. So there are a lot of issues that affect women, there are a lot of issues that affect men. But when people hear gender affairs, they say it's women.
Yeah,
They're not talking about the men because they see it as though it's women.
But hopefully we're going to change that perception too.
Well, we have to work hard at that, and we need to educate the public.
Thank you so much, Madam Minister. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we start the interview. Stay tuned to Police Insight.
The Christmas Wishmaker loan is back. Janu Credit Union members get up to $25,000 for Christmas and end-of-year expenses. It's easy to qualify and repayments are reasonable. Have an existing loan? No additional shares required. Just top up to your original loan balance twice until December 31st. To make your wishes come true, just visit the Janu Credit Union in Castries or Vieux-Fort or email apply@cscreditunion.org and make the magic happen. Janu, together we can move mountains.
Janu giving money, plenty money, money. Janu.
As variants of COVID-19 continue to evolve, Lewis Industries Limited remains resolute in offering the best cleaning solutions recommended by EPA to reduce the spread of the virus. Our disinfectants, EnviroCare and Conquer Byram, which are highly recommended to sanitize, disinfect, and deep clean surroundings, will ensure you operate in a safe and healthy environment. With over 3 decades of experience in cleaning and consultancy services, we guarantee you trusted products and quality service. Call us at 450-4060. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or our website at www.lewisindustrieslimited.com.
Make Paints Plus your one-stop paint shop this holiday season. With unbelievable everyday low prices store-wide, we will not be undersold. So for all your decorative and automotive paints and accessories, make the smart choice and check Paints Plus first. Quality products and service at the best prices, plus best value for your money equals best savings in your pocket. Spend $200 and get a chance to win daily prizes, huge discounts, hams, turkeys, food hampers, liquor hampers, wines, and weekly cash prizes of $500 in our popular Paints Plus Pop the Balloon Christmas promotion. Happy holidays from your team at Paints Plus.
Paints Plus, one name that leads. Paints Plus, for all your painting needs.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host there, Acting Inspector Zachary Hippolyte of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force. In studio with me is my honored guest, Honorable Dr. Virginia Albert Poyotte, Minister for Gender and Home Affairs. Just before you continue the interview, you know at this point in time I always give a shout out to a couple of persons. Ms. Tekla Preville, good night to you. Those of you in the Facebook chat, good night. Who's that? Stephanie Cauldron, Kelvin Knight, Victor C. Anthony, how you doing, my brother? Anata, Pinky Paul Valsin, Ivy Michelle, Marie Frederick. Who else we got there? Sandra Louison, good night to you. Onella Joseph, good night to you. Amanda Charles, good night, cuz. How you doing? Sabina Charles, I know you're not too well. I hope you're feeling better. Good night to you. So let's continue with the interview. So, Madam Minister, there's this, I think the Gender Affairs Department is currently leading a violence against women campaign. Can you just explain that to us, please?
Well, the Violence Against Women campaign is, we have a 16-day activism,
16
which
days.
is established by the United Nations. So every year they observe these 16 days, and where we do a lot of publicity, promotion, advocacy, trying to educate the public that violence against women, we need to stop it. And on the 25th of November is the day they have observing all over the world for us to advocate for elimination of violence against women. And we actually stamp it out and say, we need to stop it now. We need to end it now.
So,
even though it's not ended, but that is what we're looking for, to put an end to it. And there are different activities we had for the week. There are a lot of training that the Gender Department decided to undertake. And we look at all the different stakeholders, especially training among police.
Yes.
Because we need to explain to the police how do they handle cases of domestic violence. Remember, domestic violence, there are two people who are in intimate relationship. And for whatever reason, some bitterness comes out. And therefore, you find that, but usually the cases we get is more the male beating up the female.
Yes, that's
Although
true.
the men have been complaining that they do get a little beating,
Yeah.
but out of pride they do not want to report it.
Yeah, they get some licks.
Right.
They
But
don't
at the
report
same
it.
time, it's more. I think 90% of the cases are male abusing female. And what I want to address this evening too is that when you look at the issue of domestic violence, it is one where the police need special training. And they have developed a kind of protocol, and that protocol will actually guide the police on how to go about collecting evidence and pressing charges in the cases of domestic violence. So it's not somebody that they don't know each other, or there was some conflict out there, and then the police, there was a fight between two people and the police interfered. These are two people who are living together, they are intimate, sometimes they have children,
Yes.
they have property together. How do you come in between these two people and say, well, something has gone wrong and I need to arrest one and take the person to court? The sad thing about it is that a lot of women who have found themselves in domestic abuse situation, what they do, they involve the police.
Yes.
And the police comes in, they arrest the abuser, and then they take the person to arrest, put them behind bars, and later the woman comes back and say, well, people tell her, no, you all have been together, you all
Think of
have
the
children, and think of the children. And they go back and they pull out the case.
Yes.
They say they want to withdraw the case.
That's what
now,
happens.
this is very serious for the police, because the police has to use government resources. The police sometimes have to put their own lives at risk to try and protect that person.
Yes.
And later to turn around and say, well, you finished with that. It's making a mockery out of the whole process. And this is something, maybe we might have to have a law that once you have passed the case on to the police, you can withdraw it.
That would be
Understand?
interesting. And I
Right,
think that would be
because
good.
you cannot waste government resources and put people's lives at risk. And some people do withdraw the case. And later on, there is a reoccurrence of the same incident.
Most
now,
times
this
there
time,
is.
the police will not want to move. Because the police said, I came the first time, I tried to help, I arrested the person, brought charges against the person, and later you just said you want to withdraw the charges.
And although that should not happen, but at the end of the day, we're still human.
Yes, you are
Yes.
still human, but we are saying violence in itself is a cycle. And when somebody is an abuser, it is almost part of the person's DNA in terms of the cycle goes where after the abuser, most cases are the men, they beat up the woman, then they go through a phase of, they feeling sorry.
They feel, yes.
Yeah, they go back and they do everything that they never did before. So that now the woman start feeling sorry for the man.
For the man.
Now some women say when they get abused, that's the time they get the attention that they need. They get the
Imagine that.
love.
Wow.
And then that will go on maybe, we don't know how long some cycles last. It will go on now and things get bad, get good, and they are together, they go to church, and everything look like perfect. And then the whole thing start all over again. And then the man, another time, just begin. Sometimes they said there's some simple thing just triggers it.
Triggers it, yeah.
And then he will beat up the woman and so on. And I mean, the violence has gone so far where it ended up fatal.
Exactly.
Where the women are killed, murdered, or shot, or beaten to death, and so on. Now, we want people to understand that violence, domestic violence, is really wasting a lot of resources, and it is holding back national development.
That's
Because
interesting.
if you have to go to work and you are beaten the night by your partner or your husband or whatever, you are sick. You have to call in sick. That's a few days' work you miss. You have to take care of the children. You cannot do that. So that is actually affecting productivity in the workplace and in the society. And when they quantify the loss of resources, time, and everything through domestic violence, it is huge.
That's amazing.
What we also found too is that during the COVID, we have found out, even with the limited research that we have, there was an increase, and even the United Nations, there is an increase, a rapid increase of domestic violence in the home. And what would have attributed to that would be, one, the man is not working. A lot of men lost their jobs. They are at home. And then there's the protocol, the curfew, where they are forced to stay home. Now remember, if the relationship was already sour even before COVID, and now you are forced to stay home. Am I staying home 24 hours to look at that woman I did not want to see for so long? So that bitterness starts, and there's no money to pay the bills. There's not,
That's
so
reality.
that the anger begins, and then the abuse starts. Either there's psychological abuse. There's not every time they abuse you by beating you. The kind of thing somebody would tell you will hurt you even more than if the person had given you a blow or a mark on your skin. So there is the psychological abuse. There is the physical abuse. And all these things affect the nature of the person. So what they have found is that there has been an increase in domestic violence due to COVID. The woman is in the home, the man is in the home. But what is sad about it is that when you have children exposed to domestic violence in the home,
that's
it
a
is
serious impact
affecting the
on the
child a
mentality
lot.
of the
Sometimes the teacher would not know that this child is exposed to domestic violence, and that child would come there, and the child is like dazed. You just see the child look lost and not paying attention in class, or the child not looking happy, because the child remembers what the child saw in the home.
In the home.
And it affects them psychologically. It affects their performance in school. And some people don't understand that.
And have teachers been part of the training in terms of to your
on
knowledge?
domestic violence? I don't think they have done much.
Okay.
But I think sometimes because the children have that trust in the teacher, they tend to give them a hint of something not right at home. And the teacher, knowing the children well, can see that child is behaving differently. And they do a little probing, they investigate. It's just that some people don't want to cross the line to go into people's personal space or domestic situation. So a lot of people know of domestic violence issues, but they will not talk about it. Because later on they say, I try and tell you, don't do this, don't do that. And later they see you and the person hand in hand, everything, and you go back and say, so-and-so that told me that, then you become enemy to the
Yes.
person that you was accused of abusing the other. So it is a very sensitive issue. It is very delicate. It is very technical. And that is why we feel people need training on how to address the issue of domestic violence.
And I must say good night to Miss Jenny Joseph. She's the director, I believe.
Right, she's
at
the director.
Gender Relations. And I was fortunate to be part of that training. And I must say, Madam Minister, that training opened, especially my eyes, because I could not understand, why doesn't she leave? Why is she remaining in the relationship? You just have to get up and go. That training made me understand the psychosocial aspect of it and what causes the influences that could cause a woman to stay in that relationship. So I really, my staff and I really.
Right.
did
So
training.
you now have to multiply it.
Yes.
By sharing it.
Yes.
Because when they hear that coming from a man, you know other men listen.
That's
and they
right.
say, but what's your
Zachary,
right?
yes.
Oh, you should. What happened? They ridicule you.
Yes.
And say, you're like a woman, man. You're doing this thing and so on. So now sometimes you want to show them you're macho, so you not want to go that way. But we are saying men can influence men.
That's right.
And when they're at the bar, that one starts saying, me, I'll beat up the woman. Say, no, that's why you
It's
cannot
wrong.
do that.
Cannot
I
do
never
that.
touch my girlfriend. I will
That's
never
right.
touch. Say, you stupid. Don't I say, no, I will not do that. Once you begin to talk to them and say, you know what he said is true, and they go back home and they reflect.
So men have an important role to play in the fight against
yes.
domestic violence.
Yes, they can play a major role. And that is why when we talk about domestic violence, we talk about gender equality. We keep organizing workshops for women. Because what you are doing, you're actually trying to protect what we call the victim from the perpetrator. But we need to explain to men why they must not do it. And
That's
if we
right.
don't engage them, we just assume that they know. They do not know. We have to educate them. So for you to get gender equality, you have to educate both men and women. And that is why they changed the department from women's desk or women's affairs to gender. So that, but the
Incorporates
men
both.
still feel they are very hesitant to come because they still see it as a women's thing and
takes
it's
a
not
while
about
for
them.
the culture to change.
So that is
yes.
something we have to correct. But domestic violence is real, and a lot of people, a lot of women who are abused out of shame or a fear of ridicule, they do not report the cases. And about 90% of cases of domestic violence are not reported.
That's really startling.
Especially, and people think domestic violence only occur among low-class people.
Yes, that's
Low
usually
income.
the thinking, yes.
People of high class
Imagine that.
are victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence has no class, no color, no creed. It's just a pattern of behavior which is unacceptable. Where two adults decide to have a relationship, if you do not like the behavior of one, you actually walk away. You don't have to. When you beat somebody, you don't change their behavior. And that is why
That's
before we were applying corporal punishment in schools. And now they have taken it off because that is not the way to go. You let people, even if we have to go into the situation with COVID-19 and vaccination, and when I hear the Prime Minister speak, he said, well, we will encourage the people to take the vaccine. We cannot force them. We are adults. And if you're an adult, you should be able to decide what is best for you, yourself, and your family. Some people talk about their rights. But if you have rights, you also have responsibilities.
That's right.
And they forget the responsibility.
Because your rights could infringe on my rights.
Right. So these are things that we have to allow. Once you educate people, you leave it for them to take the decision that is best. There might be some consequences we don't want, but at the same time, you have to leave space for people to exercise their rights and their responsibilities for you to see a change in the society.
Thank you so much, Madam Minister. We're going to take our second break. And when we come back, I'll be asking about the new domestic violence bill. Yes, stay tuned to Police Insight.
Life doesn't always need to be hectic, but with Slasper's online appointment system, clearing a barrel from loved ones can be really easy. Simply log on to www.slasper.com, select your port, enter your information, receive confirmation, get your documents and the valid picture ID, and get going. It's that easy. Slasper's online appointment system. Now that's easy.
Paint it, love it, uplift your spirit. Colors to change your world.
Create that special Christmas feel this holiday with up to 25% off select Harris paints and primers. Every $100 you spend, get a chance for the grand prize of a grocery hamper valued at $1,000. Plus, weekly chances to win a ham or a turkey. So shop now and get all the Christmas feels this year with Harris Paints. Promotion ends December 31st.
Colors to change your world. Christmas with Harris.
Lucilec customers whose accounts are in arrears are encouraged to call or send a WhatsApp message to our credit control section at 728-9752, 728-9754, 728-9755, or 728-9756 to make payment arrangements to settle your arrears. For bill balances, call our automated account inquiry service at 457-4433 and follow the prompts. Use myaccount.lucilec.com to obtain detailed account information and make online bill payments directly to Lucilec via debit or credit card or through your bank. Select the option to receive monthly bills via email. Customers can also pay bills through Shopee's online or walk-in service.
For the first time ever in Saint Lucia, the Monopole Cooperative Credit Union offers loans to purchase the vehicle of your dreams, regardless of the age. We also provide full comprehensive insurance coverage for vehicles up to 15 years. Our interest rates start at 6.5% with only 10% deposit required. So feel free, dream, test drive, select. We're here to provide the finance and insurance to get you on the road regardless of the age. Monopole Cooperative Credit Union. Our people, our community, our credit union. Telephone 455-3370.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host there, Acting Inspector Zachary Hippolyte, and in studio with me is the Minister responsible for Home Affairs, Gender Affairs, also the Public Service and Labor, Dr. Virginia Albert Poyotte. I'd like to say good night to Angela Hippolyte. Good night to you. Also, Jason, watching in Kazabak, and Canis, it's your birthday this weekend. I'd like to say happy birthday to you, Canis. Misty Jeremy in the house, watching from New York. Mike Paul, watching from San Francisco. Good night to you guys. Who else we got there? Wilma Amide, Johnny Joseph. Good night to you, Jean-Claude Didier. Good night to you. All of you there in the Facebook chat, thank you for supporting this show as usual. And all of you in television land around Saint Lucia, thank you. So let's continue with the interview. So, Madam Minister, is there a new domestic violence bill in the works? Can you tell us about it?
Well, from the time I step in as Minister of Gender Affairs, that has been ringing in my ears. And the pressure is building up around me. People said they want that bill passed. And I have raised it in Cabinet. I have discussed it, mentioned it to the Prime Minister, and he said definitely he's going to put it on the table for discussion.
Okay.
So it has gone to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General has since looked at it, and they have sent it back to the Gender Affairs Department. So now it will be opened up for discussion with all civil society, so people can talk about a lot of the changes that are coming in the bill. But the bill basically is expanding a lot of the areas that were too restricted.
Okay.
So there will be a lot more areas. For example, they are going to expand the definition of domestic violence. So it will be a broader, it was a limited definition for spouse. They are going to look at the limited relationship protected from violence. We had restricts who can make application to the adult victim. We are looking at there is a restricted role of the police. We want to expand that. We have weak data collection, so we need better data collection. We have a narrow scope of protection orders. So all these are areas we want to expand on. There are about 20 amendments coming up in that bill. There were bills established, domestic violence summary bill proceedings of 1995. We had domestic violence bill of 2016, and now we are proposing domestic violence bill of 2020. So that's the one we are going to actually bring forward so that we can make the amendments and expand the areas. So there are a lot of things that people were taking for granted, but when the bill passed, that will soon be part of the law, and certain things will not be allowed. And there are people that live in domestic relationships, and because things turn sour, one partner do not get their rights.
Yes.
And the other one.
Yes.
And the man will say, oh, all belongs to me and you don't have. No, the law is going to protect them on that. People even talk about sexual abuse in intimate relationship. That is the area a lot of people are concerned about. That if two people are married, they are living together, what abuse you're talking about when it comes to sexual relationship? The law protects, because your body is your body, not because you are married that the lady can do what they want with you, or you can do what you want with the lady. You still have to respect the person, say yes or no.
Well, Madam Minister, they say when we're married, we are now one. So.
Yeah, well, I don't know why one cannot. Why you go to town and your wife stay home? How one separating two?
Yeah.
But I mean, in reality, they are saying that you cannot impose yourself on the person. You still have to respectfully engage, and both parties must agree, and not one that you take advantage of.
I agree with that.
Right? There are times the lady not in the best of mood, and you cannot say, well, this is what you cannot. You still have to find the more polished and polite way of engaging your partner.
Even though she's your wife.
Even though she's your wife. They said there is rape in a married relationship.
Well,
yes.
Because the criminal code currently states that a husband cannot rape his wife unless if there is a divorce situation going on, a separation by the courts, a legal separation by the courts, or a decree nisi. So, in essence, what that is saying, Madam Minister, if those things don't exist, the lady should comply whenever the husband wants to be intimate.
Yeah, but that is, as we say, we're talking about people's rights, and marriage, you don't forfeit your right as a human being.
That's right.
And you as a man, you also have your right.
Yes.
Because there is one thing, when I spoke about rights, and I told people they have their children in their home, and the child has a right to privacy. They say, how can a child that is in my home have right to privacy?
Yes, already.
And you see the mother had the child in the room. Now, if your child is taking drugs into your home, why would you have privacy? And police will come at my home and say, I want to search, and you don't even know the child is taking that.
From that
so
point,
if you get a little hint that this child is engaged in some, or they tell you that they saw the child with a gun, or the child has drugs or whatever, and the child goes in his or her room, you cannot go in that room. And then you hear police knocking on your door, only to find out the thing is in your home. How would you defend yourself?
Exactly.
So this is your roof, this is your space, and therefore you should have control over what happens in your space.
I so agree.
So this is where the argument gets heated. But they say you cannot just go in the child's room and look for things. You are infringing on the child's privacy.
Is that so?
Yeah, there is all this debate going on. So
I wonder how you guys feel about that. I'd like to hear from you later.
You're right. Okay. But these are issues that we have to pay. But the bill itself, as I said, that might require a full show.
Yes, yes, okay, ma'am.
Go through all the little
we'll have
details.
To do that again.
I mean, some people will get a little hype on it. Some will get angry. But at the same time, we need to get consensus.
Ma'am, let me just take a little away a bit. The family court. The family court, there's this perception that surrounds the family court that it's all about the rights of women. And when you look at also child support and stuff like that, Have you had any discussions or concerns about child maintenance laws and stuff like that? And probably to make us men feel as if like we ourselves also have a right when it comes to child maintenance.
Now, you have opened a new issue there that...
that might take another whole show, so...
No, no, but at least we just have to touch on it because we are here. But the child maintenance issue is that both parents should have equal rights for the child. And what we have found is that the children are usually left with the mother.
Yes.
So the mother takes the father to family court and asks for maintenance.
Yes.
But we have had a number of cases where the mother neglects the child and leaves the child or children for the father.
Yes.
And that mother is not making any contribution. So if we're talking about gender equality, we are saying the law must address either way.
Thank you.
So if the mother can afford to give maintenance, the father is the one taking care, you have to make your contribution. And these are areas we need to address.
Interesting.
Now, I heard of a case recently where a mother had a child for the child had grown a good number of years. And for whatever reason, the man wanted to do a DNA. And when he did the test, he found that the child was not his child. How do you deal with that mother? And people are saying that when a mother takes a father to family court and asking for maintenance, the court should insist that there is a DNA test to verify that this child is the gentleman's child.
Yes.
Before you start making him pay a maintenance fee, and later you discover that this child is not your child.
After paying 5 years.
They said now if the court insists that you do a DNA. I mean, you watch the show, you are the father, you know the father.
Yes,
but if you insist that the child, you want to find out if that child is yours by doing a DNA, and later you found that the child is your child, you should pay the fee.
As in the female?
No, you the father.
Okay, be the father.
I am willing to pay.
Yes.
I'm willing to pay maintenance for the child.
Yes.
But I want to know if that child is mine. And you insist that you need a DNA.
I need a DNA.
And later you find that the child is your child. You have to pay. I'm not going to pay for you to find out what you want.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
Yes.
So we are saying that there was this gentleman who had a child for how many years with the lady, and she took the gentleman to family court, and the man has been maintaining that child for a long time. And after a while, the man said he needs to do anything, and you know the child was not his child.
My goodness.
So what are you going to do with the woman? Having paid, having received maintenance. You say, well, we might say that's just humanitarian service for a child.
Calling in the back to say he wants all his money back.
But you take care of a child, you never know when that child will be in life.
Yeah.
You understand?
Wow.
But I think, as you said, the family court must deal fairly for both men and women. I don't believe that you just make the man pay maintenance, and if the father is the one, because I've seen fathers who really love their children. They take care of the children. And the mothers couldn't care less. They just ride on the fact that I'm the mother. But I'm telling you and of late too, I notice a lot of young men, they care about their children.
Yes.
And I don't want people to go on bashing men as if men just don't care about this, they don't care about that. I still believe that we have a lot of men who care about their children. But you have a few
that don't, they don't do what they have to do.
We call them the sperm donors.
The sperm donors and lots of that's why I always believe one day we should have a stepfather's day, because there are lots of stepfathers who step up to the plate.
Right.
And do what they're supposed to.
So we have to give credit where credit is
due. Yes.
And I am not one of those that. And you see, I want you to understand, when we talk about gender equality, people construe that to mean that it's about women that looking for power.
Yes.
What you do, you have to look at the situation, whatever the situation is, and then you see which of the gender is disadvantaged. If you find that it's the man, you have to provide greater resources for that man to move up. If when you look at the situation, you realize it's the woman that's disadvantaged, then you have to give greater resources to the woman.
Quality.
So it's not just a matter of saying more for women.
Yes.
And one of the things I discovered too is that when you engage men in gender discussion, the men are even more excited about the topic. Because what they thought it was about, it wasn't that. because they begin to understand. And as we were talking earlier, and you said they did the training for the police on how to handle the domestic violence. And in that training, you learned a lot. And your perception changed on a lot of things. So we keep doing training for women on domestic violence, what you have to do, how to protect yourself. But we ignore the men. We have to bring the men in the training. And if we're talking about gender, we have to have both of them in the discussion. And that is the only way you can speed up the progress. Because men always believe as though when the women have the little workshop, it's a conspiracy.
Yeah,
they are planning to overtake and control us. Yeah. And there's greater resistance because they don't even know. There's a fear of the unknown. So we need to let them know that this is not the situation. And there's an argument that we raise that some men are so controlling that they do not want their wives or their partner to work.
Imagine that.
I'm saying, yes, you may have children, you may have the family. If you insist that your wife must not work, it means you have to provide everything.
I so agree.
If your salary is $5,000 for the month and your wife is not bringing 1 cent as income, you know your salary at the end of the month is $2,500. You may not give it to her, you might keep it.
Yeah.
But for the two of you all to live comfortable, you have to split your salary. You have to provide for the bills, you have to pay for the mortgage. You have to, she will clean the house. And one of the things we speak to about women is their unpaid labor.
Unpaid labor.
You don't, domestic work is not considered as work. But that is a lot of work. But they do not put a cost to it.
True.
So I clean the house, I cook your food, I do iron, everything. You need to put a salary aside for the lady. You cannot say you're not entitled because she has worked.
I'm glad she gives satisfaction.
So the salary that she's earning is part of yours because she's not working. She's not bringing any income. You bring the income because she's taking care of you.
That's logical.
Right?
That makes sense.
And she takes, even she takes care of you, not just food, but she provides for the cycle and the whole well-being of the man for you to continue to work and produce. You have to be happy when you go to work. You understand? Yeah. So I'm just saying that the unpaid labor for women is an area of concern. So all these things, if we do not address them, that could bring a lot of animosity and bitterness between partners, and that could lead to serious domestic violence.
Thank you, Madam Minister. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, some questioning away. We're going to step a little bit away from the affairs into some hard questioning for the Minister. Stay tuned.
Joy to your ride. Automotive Art has amazing deals for this tropical Christmas, like up to 75% off rims, 25% off all tools, and buy 3 tires and get the 4th tire free. We also have bundles of joy for your ride. It's buy 1 and get 1 galore on quality car care products, floor mats, seat covers, steering wheel covers, and more. Visit Automotive Art today at Vidbutei Castries or La Tunevie 4 and get the right gift for you or your loved one this holiday season. Offer valid while stocks last or until December 31st. Terms and conditions apply.
Celebrate the season with a Christmas loan from the Royal Saint Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Get up to $10,000 with no deposit necessary and quick 24 hours processing time. That's $10,000 just in time for the Christmas season. So ring in the holidays with a Christmas loan from the Royal Saint Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Call or visit us today. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 31st, 2021.
Power Play is gonna rock your world. Over $140,000 for the Christmas? Come on now, you gotta rock with it.
Do you feel like you're drowning in debt? Have your sources of income been severely impacted and you have nowhere to turn? The Saint Lucia Teachers Credit Cooperative Limited is here to save. With our rescue plan, we can consolidate your debt obligations into one easy-to-manage loan with affordable payment terms tailored to keep you afloat. Contact us today at 453-2538 in Castries or 454-7802 in Viewfort for further details. The Saint Lucia Teachers Credit Cooperative Limited, an educated choice.
You know that feeling when you have an uncontrollable desire for fried chicken? That's the KFC. A substance that stimulates your senses to identify the aroma of a secret recipe or an extra crispy crunch from any distance. It's invisible to the naked eye, but you can feel it traveling throughout your body, taking control. All so you can enjoy a juicy bite of KFC. Ignite your senses with KFC.
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host there, Acting Zachary Hippolyte of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force. In studio with me, Madam Minister, responsible for public service, labor, gender affairs, home affairs. She has all the affairs. The Honorable Dr. Virginia Albert Poyotte. So we're going to go into a new line of questioning. Ma'am, 65 homicides. 65 homicides. What are your views on what could be done? What more can be done in addressing when it comes to the violent crime issue in Saint Lucia?
Okay, 65 homicide is just too many. It's just too many for a small society like Saint Lucia. And sometimes you kind of trivialize it and say, are we butchers? Why are we killing each other? And it is very sad. But what is lacking in those figures, it just comes out as 65 homicide.
Yeah.
We cannot just leave it as 65 homicide. We have to look at where that happened, what is the age group, what was the motive for the killing. So you begin to split it apart, to begin to analyze that, so that it can help the police, it can help the lawmakers understand what the dynamics are. And that is the only way you begin to put things in place to manage it. So that, is it gang related? Is it drug related?
Yes.
Do you have more men or more women? Is only men? What age group? What geographical area? Is there a part of St. Lucia where you see a lot more of it? And what would give rise to that? So that would be very useful information for the police as well as the government, so that we can begin to address the situation. Because if you notice it's young people, then you have to say why young people are killing each other and what is behind that. And I know the COVID-19 situation has not helped the situation. It has not helped the situation in that a lot of people are unemployed, and some of them might be engaged in illicit activities, and the temper flares, and people don't manage their conflict. They cannot resolve conflict, and there's a lot of, from what we are picking up, a lot of firearm. And people who use firearm, they say, tend to be a lot of people. Not that I accuse the police because they use firearm, but they use it when they are in distress. But when people are in problems and the first thing they think of is the firearm, that's a sign, they say, of cowardice. Because before, people used to go and fight fist to fist to see who is stronger and who can. But now you can stay at a distance, and it is done in a very malicious way. So we are saying that people are getting very mean and wicked. They do not forgive. And it's like the society has been taken over by that kind of thinking. People are no longer compassionate about others. They don't know how to forgive. They don't know how to forget. Everything is tit for tat, and they want more. But the sad thing about it is that with the murders, especially what they are saying with the gangs, it will continue. Because when one kill one, the other one has to go back and take revenge, and the other one take back. So they kind of wipe out. And after a while, maybe you just don't hear anything because they have almost wiped out the two bitter gangs that were fighting each other. And the other thing too is that persons who are civil, who want to put peace, they will stay quiet.
Yes, most times.
They don't get involved.
They don't get involved, yes.
There is the other issue too with the lack of cooperation on the part of the public with the police. The police must fight hard to build trust between the citizens and themselves. Now, sometimes just one or two police can you might try your best, but one or two persons in the first go wrong, it tarnishes the image of the entire. They just generalize and say, oh, them police and this, that, and the other.
Yes.
So what we are saying is that we have to work hard, because I have told people police is not a different group of persons. They are our people.
Yeah,
they are fathers, they are family, they are brothers, they are uncles, and so on. And sometimes when you support the police, you are helping one of your own persons in carrying out his or her duties. So we as citizens must cooperate with the police. There was this sniper in the U.S., and that person was killing persons, And how did the police, with all the sophistication they have in the U.S., they just found the guy sleeping in a car, and somebody reported that to the police.
Yes.
Easy. So
that's how they finally caught him. Yeah.
So a lot of the murders we have in Saint Lucia, the citizens know. They have a fairly good idea of what is behind it, who is behind it. Sometimes they even know before it happened, but they do not cooperate. And there is the question of how do you protect the witness, somebody who knows. Some people are killed because they are witness to a crime.
Yes.
So right away they have to protect themselves by not talking. And then the perpetrator continues because they know that if you dare talk, then you are in trouble. So, and we are in a small society. So what I'm saying is that we need to ensure that we begin to build trust between the citizens and the police. We have to understand the role of the police is to protect us. And if we do not give the police information, we are putting ourselves in harm's way.
That's so
because
true.
you may be the next victim. You understand?
Are there any plans, ma'am, to your knowledge, to restructure the administration of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force?
Now, that comes right down my alley because I'm responsible for the administration of the police force. And as we speak there, in fact, I had a meeting to meet the police on Thursday. And something came up, we have to push it for some time later.
Okay.
But in terms of administration of the police, we have to revisit the whole police structure.
Interesting.
We have to revisit that because we have to maximize the resources that we have. I heard they are talking about limited human resource in terms of manpower. And, you know, you have to refine the police and not just police in uniform. We need a lot of secret police in St. Lucia to help us because people know who is the police and they know who not to talk to.
Like it's a small society.
It's a small society. So you have to find ways where you can protect those who have information so their identity is not identified, as well as get more persons involved in protecting the state and not just leave it to that little group. Because when we have 65 homicides, you cannot have a police everywhere in St. Lucia, and they will not have an idea that this is coming. So you cannot place a police everywhere there might be a murder.
Yeah, it's impossible.
And if you don't give the police information, the police will have no idea of what is likely to come because we are not cooperating with the police. Now, we don't cooperate with the police because some of them tell you they go and say that, and then they put themselves because they don't know the link that these police will have with whatever, so everybody is fearful of passing out information.
We have a call on the line? Okay, let's take that call.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for calling Police Inside.
Yeah, good morning. Sorry, good evening.
That's
Inspector,
okay.
not a minister.
Yes, good
okay.
evening.
I have a question. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember sometime either the 70s or early 80s, there was a debate in Parliament about trying to, in fact, getting to amend the child custody act. Let's put it. It's like illegitimate. Is it illegitimate? How would it go? Illegitimate children, right? Of a man was supposed to be entitled to just the same as the
legitimate child.
legitimate parent. Now, what I was told later down is that it was never signed into law by the Governor General. And when the Labour Party came in 97 or somewhere about that time, there was a thrust going on to try and get this thing done. And it was said that Saint Lucia will wait to go along with OECS to get it done. Currently, we have situations where by fathers not having any say to a child, yet they have to pay the child support, right, and whatever needed, but they don't have any say because they're not married to the mother, and the mother is the full custodial and has all the say of the child. Now, until the child is, so he has to do it until 18. What I want to ask is, if the law was never changed and it was supposed to have been, and if this government is doing anything to deal with that, because I know of a lot of parents, a lot of fathers who have been deprived of this opportunity, and they've been penalized. And like the minister said earlier, some may not even be the blood father, but maybe a stepfather all the way. Is there something that will be done? And I'm looking forward to hearing from you all.
Thank you so much, caller. Madam Minister.
Yes, you have raised the issue, and there are a number of old laws on our books. And in the gender department, I have given directive for them to pull up all those legislations, especially those that are discriminatory. And we are going to revisit all these laws. One of the issues I raised in Cabinet and with the Prime Minister is that there are some laws that are on our books, and it only requires a government that has the will and by the stroke of a pen. Okay. That's all it needs to make a world of a difference for an entire nation. So it is something that we are looking at, and we have asked the Gender Affairs to pull up a lot of the laws we have there that are archaic, that has been there. It doesn't even serve a purpose, but it's just there on our books. And international institutions are also putting pressure on us and other Caribbean, because they want you to comply with certain international laws. And if you are not complying, you will not get support. You will not get recognition. So they are going to deny you of certain support because you refuse to amend those laws. So right now we are looking for these laws in our books, and as the gentleman said, this one will be one of them that we'll pull up.
Thank you so much, caller. The lines are open at 456-0306. And you could, we have a call? Okay, let's take that call. Good night, caller.
Officer Zachary, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Poyotte.
Good evening.
I want to make 2 points. Number one, you spoke about manpower. I'm sure you're going to agree with me that investigations has a lot to do with intelligence. If you don't have intelligence, then your investigation goes nowhere. There are a number of persons who are retired from the police service. And persons with lots of knowledge, persons who are competent, but because of the promotion system, those persons actually left the force. So that is a big loss on for the police service. I believe in a case like this, you all should try and utilize those persons. Bring them in. They don't have to come back in uniform, like you said. But those persons can come in there and make a very, very good contribution towards combating crime. Now, secondly, you spoke about he spoke about domestic violence.
Yes.
I have an issue, and I'm so happy that I'm seeing you on the show tonight, and that you'll be able to address it. I have a son who lives in Denver, and then he had some kind of connection with a lady who was the girlfriend of an SPC. Now, reaching at the lady's by the lady's home, he realized that this SPC was just beating up the young lady. He tried his best to stop it, and he ended up getting stabbed multiple times. That matter is about almost a whole year now. Now, that SPC also made a report at the Denver police station against my son for damaging his glasses and whatnot. But my son got stopped. He was on the news. And then he was brought into custody for a few hours. Was not charged. And my understanding that if my son was not charged and was in custody for 3-4 hours, I'm assuming that there was nothing to be charged for. But my son made a report for the stabbing, wounding, and I will not even say wounding. That could even be what you call attempted murder. Because if a man is just firing a knife at you at any angle, and then you have to try and defend yourself, it could have been a murder case. And what I'm saying is, they did not charge the SPC criminally. That should be a criminal matter. I can understand. If you wanted to charge both parties for unlawful fighting and allow them to come and clear themselves at court as to why they were fighting, I would still appreciate that. But don't tell me. You are telling my son that this is a matter for the complaints unit. Complaints unit, almost a whole year now. When I call the complaints unit in connection with that, I'm a former police officer, I'm a retired police officer. And then I spoke with a very good friend of mine, and he was telling me that this matter has been sent to CID for the SPC to be charged. I tried to do some follow-up. I spoke to some sergeant at the CID, some sergeant Jabatis, I can't remember exactly. But up to a day like today, I remember calling the show not too long ago about that same matter. And to my understanding, that this SPC now has been, I don't know if you want to call it a promotion, but he has moved from SPC to the regular constable, to a regular police officer.
Yes, it's a promotion.
What I know as a police officer, anytime there's a matter pending against you, there's a matter on the investigation pending against you, if you're not sent on administrative leave, that you are not eligible for any kind of promotion. And this is affecting me, and I do not know what is happening. I don't know if they want to treat my son like he's nobody. But I don't want to sleep on that. I've said it to Mr. Zachary on the show.
Yeah.
I've said it to NBC. Now, I'm so glad that you were the minister. The commissioner of police is answerable to you. And I know there's something called morning report. Every single criminal report that is reported at any police station, it has to be reported to the Officer IC 7th Division, Officer IC 11th Division, and it goes to the Commissioner of Police. So don't tell me that Mr. Milton Daisy has no knowledge of that matter. So how are we able to fight crime? When you choose to go the legal way, instead of my son trying to be vindictive and do it the illegal way, something I will not support, period. We're not going to support this kind of nonsense. But what I'm saying is that is frustrating. And when a man is frustrated, then he can do so many other things. It's a good thing that I know a little bit of conflict resolution, that I've been speaking to my son all the time about it. But we are frustrated about it, and I need somebody to give me some answers.
Okay.
Why is he a regular police now from SPC, and there's a matter pending against him? Or I don't know if that matter is nowhere. If it's nowhere, like you told me that it has been sent to CID, I need to know a little more about that matter.
Okay,
Thank
caller.
you.
All right,
And have
caller.
a good night.
Thank you, caller.
Okay.
Yeah. And caller, if you're still listening, take down my number 7200401, 7200401, and link me up tomorrow for us to have some further discussions. Okay, and someone is saying that the officer is not promoted, so I guess that's another individual. Okay, let's take that call. The calls are coming in fast and furious. Good night, caller.
Yes, good night to you, Inspector.
Good night. Good night.
To the Minister.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, Minister, I heard you saying that your department is in the process of looking at legislation that needs attention. I want to bring one to your attention, and I am hoping that something will be done about this piece of legislation, because I think the Constitution speaks to there not being discrimination in laws, and no state should have laws that are discriminatory where its people are concerned. And I'm speaking to our civil code. And this is an amendment that was made in St. Vincent a year after the independence. And to this date, we have that legislation, which was a piece of colonial legislation, in our civil code. And no one has seen it fit to address that. And it speaks to the status of children and so on, in terms of succession and so on. So I think it's a section 579, 578 of the civil code thereabout. So I'm hoping that you will give some attention to that piece of legislation and to bring it in conformity with our Constitution. Why the court has not struck it down, I don't know. Don't know if the persons who have probably taken it, they have not. Well, I know there was one particular matter, but apparently the lawyer started with the wrong section of the Constitution. He applied under the wrong section of the Constitution, but that does not take away from the fact that it is discriminatory, and so it needs to be removed from the code, because the code is legislation of the state, and the state cannot have legislation that is discriminatory. Okay?
Thank you.
So I just want to bring that one to your attention.
Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you very much.
The Director of Gender Affairs just sent a message saying the status of children, the child bill is being considered for St. Lucia. That's right, Madam Minister?
Yes, because we are looking at a number of discriminatory laws we have, and the government is committed to repeal some of these and bring it in line with international standard.
Another call. Hopefully you could get some WhatsApp messages. Go ahead, caller. Good night.
Good night, good evening, Corporal Zachary. Good evening, Madam Minister.
Good night, good night.
It's good to see you on the show.
Thank you.
I need to make a contribution, and my contribution is going to start with, first of all, the solution of curbing or controlling the crime situation in St. Lucia has to be visited on a three-pronged basis. And it cannot be that you are looking at crime only in terms of dealing with the crime situation only after it has occurred. The crime situation has to be addressed from a socio-economic standpoint as well as proper housing and from a social perspective, which means that you need to have programs and facilities and avenues to prevent the breeding of criminals. That, to me, should be the long-term approach of fighting crime, and not abandoning, of course, the penal system that deals with the hardcore criminal that has committed the crime. But if you're going to place your emphasis on policing only after a crime is committed to deal with the criminal without addressing the source of the crime and how it is coming about, then you'll never be able to address the situation. And this is what we are doing wrong. What we are doing wrong is we are not addressing the breeding ground of criminality. Mm-hmm. The youth is falling through the cracks because we do not spend enough of our resources in creating prevention mechanism by offering them opportunities and by turning them away from the criminal element. That's one. The other issue is that the police themselves need to understand that if you do not address petty crime, that it serves as a breeding ground
for bigger
to
crime.
allow those who commit petty crime to graduate to a higher level. And constantly in my dealing with the police, as a business person, I see their non-reactive and non-response to even crime that appears to be serious, like breaking and entry. They paid no attention to it, and these small criminals who were engaged in those crimes, which appear to be petty and in some instances are major, believe they are now being emboldened to graduate to a higher level because they feel that they got away with breaking into somebody's property or business establishment. The police did not respond or do anything. And so they go in and they commit more crime upon more crime until they eventually commit murder and these things. And I can give you an example. My business establishment 3 to 4 years ago was broken into. The criminal was captured. The 3 young men was captured on camera. It was given to the police. The police themselves identified one of them. Mm-hmm. They knew who they were, where they were. The police made 2 attempts to arrest them, and after that, I called, even went to the commissioner of police, and nothing was done. And these guys are still out there. There was another time when a gentleman punctured the tire of my wife next to my office, broad daylight, and he was caught on camera. His picture was given to the police. The police never took any action. And I know for a fact that as a human being, that once you have committed something that is illegal and you get away with it, it emboldens you to try something else and something bigger because you figure out nobody's taking action. Mm-hmm. And I think that is one of the areas that the police are falling short very, very badly because they are now creating more criminals which becomes emboldened because of what they've done and the police have not responded. And when I said that the government, if you are going to spend on your security apparatus $100 million in incarcerating people, in policing, in buying equipment for the police, in preventing drugs, in terms of drug interdiction and stuff like this, you ought to take a chunk of that money in pumping in areas, in social program and activities for the youth to prevent the breeding ground of criminality. So that in the next 20 to 30 years, you're going to find yourself in a situation where if your budget allocation is $100 million for policing, only to arrest somebody who has committed a crime, that you will find that you don't have less crime to deal with because you have spent your money wisely. And this is what society is not doing. And I think I cannot tell you everything that I have to tell you tonight because you're on the program.
Yes.
Okay. But I guess you have picked up enough from what I am saying to see that policing and fighting crime must be dealt with on a three-pronged approach. And the housing situation. Let me just, at the last instant, talk about it. You have a young man being on the street from 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, and he's there until 11 midnight. And you're saying, what is this young man at 14 or 14 years is doing on the street at that time? And we don't understand that in some instances, the home where he lives does not offer him the convenience for being at that place early enough for him to even study and for him to even feel relaxed enough. So he has to be on the block because the housing situation is in a deplorable state. These are breeding grounds for criminality because it keeps those children on the block where they are influenced by hardcore criminals and they then graduate into hardcore criminals and then you put one in jail, one is dead, and then you have 10 more being graduated.
Okay, caller. Thank you, caller.
Or one is incarcerated. Have a good night. And
Thank you so much.
for the program.
Thank you so much for the contributions, caller. He made some great points. And you know, Madam Minister,
I think he was talking about the issue of prevention.
Yeah, prevention.
And anytime you have an activity, let's say like crime, you have to look at prevention. Now, when it has happened, you have to look at after care.
Yeah.
And the intention is to cure.
Yes.
So there are 3 stages. And I did mention that when we hear of criminal activities, we need to do an analysis to find out what gave rise to that. And that is the only way you can put mechanisms in place to prevent. You need to look at the trend in society. And what happened, I mentioned again, that during the COVID period, things have gotten worse in the country because people do not have resources. And the issue of conflict will definitely be on the rise. And that also has contributed to the increase in criminal activity. But a lot of the issues that we talk about when the gentleman spoke, the prevention mode has to start in the home. It has to start in the school. And there, at this point, you begin to detect the children who are already going out of hand. And that is why under the new administration, the Labour government administration, the Prime Minister has ordered that we create that unit that will look at youth at risk. Okay. So we begin to nip it in the bud. Interestingly, I mentioned that maybe people may just brush that aside. The children who go to Borderly, to Boys Training Center, they graduate into Borderly. There are up to 40 young people who end up at Borderly. 38 of them were at Boys Training Center. So the Boys Training Center did not achieve what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to prevent them from going to Borderly, but it actually graduated them. So we need to pay attention to the issue of prevention. And that has to start in the home, it has to start in the community, it has to start in the school. And we have to create opportunities. If you go around the blocks, you will see who are the people there. You know these people are idle. They are not in any productive capacity. We need to pull them off the block. We need to engage them. And that is why the government has started the youth economy, where we are going to put in the resources, the finances to help these young people develop their own business. And once they are busy, they are occupied, and they are productive, they are not going to think of criminal activity because they can satisfy their needs. They can pay their bills. They can buy whatever they need for themselves. And it reduces the envy of others and wanting to use a shortcut to get to the top.
Mr. Producer, can you at least give us a little extra 5 minutes since we started late? Let me just get some Okay, let me get some questions from the WhatsApp texting platform. Someone wants to know, Mr. Minister, what is being done about the attack on a prison officer or the situation at Bodley sometime last week?
Well, I don't know if that has been the first attack, but apparently there had been others before, but this one has made it to the press. And of late, Bodley has found itself in the media. And what I understand too is when there is a change in government, it's not just the civil society out there in the public domain that have high expectation. The prisoners, they follow the news, they have their TV in the prison, they follow the news, they know what's going on. So I'm telling you, they too knew there was an election, there is a new government, and they expect to see certain things happen. One, it could be their court hearing. Two, some conditions they have there that they are not happy about, and therefore they are expressing their frustration. And therefore, that one made it to the press in terms of attacking a prison officer. Now, this is something we have to look at the circumstances surrounding that, because it means the officer was within the range of the prisoner. And remember, these prisoners have nothing to do but to plan whatever they have in their mind. So they have a lot of time to think. And what we have to do is we have to investigate that particular circumstance to find out how did that prisoner got into contact with the prison officer and what we need to put in place so that we do not allow that to happen again.
Madam Minister, are there still plans to construct a new police headquarters?
Definitely that is on the books. It has been spoken about in cabinet, and we are already putting pen to paper to start the new headquarters for the police. And we also want a new headquarters for the fire officers. And there is some discussion, it's not confirmed yet, that they might be side by side.
Okay, excellent. Yes. What about up in the north? The Grosley Police Station has, well, you wouldn't really call it a station. And also, we've heard also of plans of a possible construction of a northern headquarters. Can you make any pronouncements on
what
that?
I know about is the construction of the new Grosley Police Station.
Okay.
I don't know if you call it the northern headquarters. But so far, the Prime Minister has written to NIPRO, and we are actually looking for space to relocate the police officers at Grosley and find dormitory and sleeping quarters for them, as well as the location for the police station. So that will be moved in the next, maybe towards the end of the year, so that the work on the new police station will start. So that I know is already in motion.
How about the custody suites? As we know, under the previous administration, it was broken down. Can you speak to that?
There is one building that was not destroyed, and the government has agreed to do the refurbishment, so that at least for now we can have a space to keep people who were arrested before they are charged or something like that.
Two more questions, Madam Minister. Are we still pursuing a border control agency?
Yes, that is on the books. They have had some discussions with me. That also falls under the Prime Minister, but I've been engaging them, and we are actually trying to improve our border control, because a lot of the guns that are coming in, a lot of the illegal activity is because our borders are not tight enough, and we need to strengthen that. And we are getting support from the U.S. and some other agencies to help us put that in place.
And also the Saint Lucia Labour Party, Madam Minister, in their manifesto, promised to revolutionize crime fighting in Saint Lucia by providing crime fighting technologies such as drones. Do you know the status on that? Do you see that being possible?
Well, I'm not privy to that yet, but if once that was a promise by the government, we will pursue it.
Okay. Madam Minister, final words to our viewers.
At this point, let me thank all the people who have stayed late to follow the discussion.
Yes, thank you.
And I'm very happy that you choose to educate yourself. And as a veteran educator myself, who have been in the field for many years, it's my pleasure engaging the St. Lucian public because you always learn something new from every opportunity. And I want to encourage men and women to live together as respectful human beings so that we can stop violence in the country. Domestic violence, violence against women, and even the crime situation. Christmas is approaching, and I know some persons with criminal minds will be desperate. And we have to be very vigilant. We have to cooperate with the police so that we can protect ourselves, our loved ones, and to help our country develop and become very prosperous. Let me wish you all the best for the season. I know it's not going to be the worst Christmas. I think there are some things that the government is putting in place so that at least you can put some food on the table for the Christmas. Let me wish you all the best and have a pleasant evening.
Okay, that was Honorable Dr. Virginia Albert Poyotte, Minister for Public Service, Labor, Home Affairs and Gender. Thank you so much, Madam Minister, and I hope this is not the last time you'll be here.
It was a pleasure engaging you on the show this evening, and I applaud you for having the courage to undertake that activity for over 6 years from what I learned.
Yes,
that is real commitment.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I think your officers should applaud you. I suppose they'll give you your medal when the time is due.
Thank you, ma'am.
But that's a
great
great job. Continue to do it.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of another informative, educational, and exciting episode of Police Insight. See you next Tuesday. Please stay safe. Good night.